Welcome back, let's tab 59. So, we're indoors. Reason we're indoors, it's too windy out there and it'll play the mic up. What we're talking about today, well, it's another firearms related video. However, we're going to talk about air rifles, air pistols, air guns. Now, the reason I'm talking about that is I've got a few, and I know some guys out there, girls out there, maybe want to take up shooting, and it's difficult to get firearms and shotgun certificates in the UK. So what can you do that's relatively relaxed with the law? And that, of course, is air rifles and air pistols, whether it's target shooting or for small game or vermin control. So I used to have quite a few air rifles over the years, and now I'm only down to about 2 air rifles and an air pistol because I moved on from air rifles into firearms and managed to get my firearms certificate and shotgun certificate here in the UK. So if you're thinking about taking up shooting, I would suggest to you, especially if you're very, very new, go for an air rifle or an air pistol and start off that way. They are cheap and they're easy to pick up. Like I say, you don't need to have any form of license. That's within England and Wales. Obviously in Scotland, they have to have a license, they have to be licensed or certificated. But here in England, where I am, you don't need anything, you just need to be at the right age, which I believe is 17, 18, so like, certainly 18 and over, you're fine. And depending if you've got a very big garden, you can do a little bit of plinking in your garden. However, if you are going to shoot your air rifle, air pistol in your garden or on your land, then there's a couple of things you need to be aware of. First of all, it's completely legal to do that. However, as you must ensure that the pellets, when you're firing your air rifle or air pistol, the pellets don't go outside the boundary of your garden, your land. If your pellets stray over anywhere outside of there, outside your boundary, you're going to be in trouble. So you must make sure you're safe. You've got some sort of pellet catcher, whether you've built something to stop the pellets going in. Don't just fire randomly around your garden, all right? Be aware of where you're shooting. And obviously make sure no one's going to walk through your back gate and walk across where you're firing your firearm or your air rifle. Another good tip really is if you're going to do that, is go and see your neighbour and knock your neighbours next door and say, look, I've got an air rifle. If you hear a couple of little bangs and plinking in the back garden, it's only me. I'm going to be safe. Invite them round maybe and say, look, this is where I'm going to be shooting. I'm shooting at a target in this clump of earth or whatever. It's totally safe. I'm not going to be firing through a fence panel and into your garden and shooting your dog Fido or your cat Mitzi. So just reassure your neighbours, because if you don't and you're firing away and one of your neighbours, you might not get on with very well or whatever, they look out the window, they see you with a rifle or a pistol in your garden, they can hear bangs going off, they may just pick a phone up to the police. It could cause you all sorts of problems. So make sure you're safe, make sure you stay within the boundaries of your land, and as a courtesy, give your neighbours a shout. Apart from that, you can fire away in your garden with a legal limit air rifle. What is legal limit? We measure that in foot-pounds of energy, and a legal limit in the UK for a rifle is 12 foot-pounds, and for a pistol, it's 6 foot-pounds. If you buy them from a gun shop, they're going to be legal limit. Be careful if you're buying second-hand, because somebody might have tinkered with it, and you might be firing an air rifle or an air pistol that's over the legal limit, and that could get you into trouble. So if you're going to buy second-hand, I would suggest be very careful. Okay then, quickly on to different types. Well, there's so many out there. You've got break barrel with Springer. In other words, you break the barrel of the rifle or the pistol, and that pulls a big spring back and sucks some air in, and that goes forward and fires the air pellet down the range or wherever you're firing. That's the very basic sort of starter ones are Springers. Air rifle with a break barrel. You can get under lever, you can get a side lever. Springers come in all sorts like that. I'm not going to talk about BB or CO2 and all those sort of air rifles because I don't really know much about them. So after a Springer, spring compressed air rifle, air pistol, the next one I suppose is a nitrous gas. Now I've got an example of a nitrous gas rifle. I've got it here. So this is a Benjamin Trail. It's in .22, and it's a break barrel firearm, so I'll just quickly show you the barrel does break like that. But instead of having a spring inside, when you break the barrel, you're compressing the spring. This has got a nitrous gas which is trapped inside. So every time you pull it back, a piston inside there is going to draw that gas and compress it down. So when you operate the trigger, it releases it. It's quite a good system to have. I think they're a bit better than a Springer. They're a little bit lighter as well, because there's not so many working parts. So that's something you might want to consider. The other good thing about these nitro gas ones is that you shouldn't do this anyway, but you can leave it cocked for long periods of time. So in other words, if I cock this and pull it back and load it with a pellet or not, I can leave that cocked. It's not going to, if it was a spring operated rifle, that spring would be under tension. If you left it like that, not only is it dangerous to leave a weapon cocked, but also it can damage the spring inside. So bear that in mind. I think they're a little bit better than a Springer. You still get recoil with it like you do with a Springer, but the recoil is minimum. So that's one to consider. I've got an example here of a spring powered air rifle. This happens to be an underlever. So underneath there's a lever. Let's see if I can pull that out for you and show you. There's the lever underneath there. And all you simply do is pull that down till it clicks right back. You can see there's a chamber that opens on the top there. Got to watch your fingers with that. Pull that back, load your pellet and fire it. I suppose the advantage, or some people would tell you the advantage of having a spring powered rifle that's got an underlever or a side lever rather than a break barrel, is that over time with a break barrel you can get what's called barrel droop. You can hardly see it. This is where the barrel is hinged to the main part of the rifle. Over time with that wear, it can drop slightly. You can lose power and lose accuracy. Obviously with an under lever or a side lever, then that barrel is fixed, so you're not going to get that problem. So this is a Stutzen. It's made by Diana. I think BSA used to make them. It's got a full wooden stock. This is in .22. Really good rifle. A little bit heavy, I suppose, because a lot of wood. So always consider the weight. If you're going to go humping around the field, shooting rabbits or whatever, you've got to lump that around with you all the time. This weighs at least 10 pounds with a scope, so it's quite a heavy lump. Other types you can get, besides the Springer and the nitrous gas, is pneumatic, and that's where the air rifle has a reservoir or a bottle fixed to it that holds compressed air from like a diver's bottle. Or you can get a hand pump or foot pump or even a compressor to generate that compressed air into the rifle. They're really good. There's no recoil from a pneumatic rifle. They're very, very accurate, and most people nowadays, hunters and target shooters and field target shooters, they're all using pneumatic rifles. They are more expensive. And obviously over time the O-rings etc. wear out. The disadvantage as well, you've got to keep getting your bottle charged up if you've got your own bottle, or if you go to your club they might have a bottle at your rifle club and they'll charge it up for you for a small fee, 50p a pound or whatever. And normally you have a little gauge on there on the rifle that will tell you how much air you've got in there. And it's normally like green, and it goes amber, then red. And of course, as the air is being used up every time you're firing it, eventually, you know, you're not going to get the same speed and the same power out, and so the pellet's going to start to drop off. You lose accuracy and power. So you've got to be aware of that. I think the last one I had, I could get about 80 shots out of it at full power. But there's so many different ones out there, you can probably get ones that are better than that now, that hold more air or whatever. So be aware of that with pneumatics, but they are really good, a little bit expensive. Be aware of second-hand ones. Buy it from a reputable gun shop or gun dealer. If you buy a second-hand one, then you need to get it in and get it checked out and get it serviced properly to make sure it's all good. Compressed air can be dangerous, remember. So you've got Springer, you've got a nitrous gas, and you've got the pneumatic rifles. And that's pretty much the sort of systems that you can have. Like I said, I'm not talking about CO2, I'm talking about compressed air. What else is there? Well, let's talk about pistols. Now, I've only got one example, This is a Virac HW45. This one's in 2.2. It's a Springer, so again it's got a spring system for operating the firearm, or the air pistol. It's really quite cool, this one, because first of all, Virac are very, very good German make. They make lots and lots of air weapons. They're really good. And this is a great fun pistol. Obviously it's single shot. So on this one, you just pull the hammer back at the back here, and that sort of releases the top cover. And then all you do is you can cock it halfway, and you'll get half power, which is it's 3 foot-pounds, or you cock it all the way over like that and back again, and that gives you 6 foot-pounds, which is the legal limit. And the loading is just inside the barrel there. Let's see if I can bring that up a little bit closer. So just inside there is where the pellet goes. As I say, this is in 2.2. It's got a safety catch on both sides, so it's quite clear that it's safe from fire. It's marked in red. Really good pistol. Not cheap, but you can pick them up second-hand. But again, when you pick up second-hand Springers, you don't really know how much that spring's been used, and over time the spring gets weaker and you get less power. It's got a little rail on top of this one, so you can fit a small telescopic sight. I don't think that's particularly necessary on this. I like open sights on a pistol. You can get a little red dot sight that goes on top, just to aid a little bit snap shooting maybe. But you know, 10 metres on the club range or in your back garden, it's fine with open sights. You don't really, well, you shouldn't shoot any animals, whether they're vermin or not, with this. Yes, it probably would kill something, but it's certainly going to wound and leave something, you know, in pain. You don't want to do that. If you're going to take on small game or vermin, use a rifle, 2.2 or 177. So quickly on that then, airgun ammunition. Airguns now come in all sorts of calibers, but the main two that we deal with is 177 and 2.2. I did have a .25. It's quite a heavy pellet, as you can imagine, and that's the thing with air rifles. They've only got that 12 foot-pounds of power, legal limit ones. So the smaller the pellet, like a 177, it's going to fly faster and flatter. 2.2, it's the next one up really. There is a .20 I believe, but .22 is the next normal one. That's a little bit bigger pellet obviously, so it's a little bit heavier, and that's going to be a little bit slower, but it is going to have more punch when it hits something, i.e. if you're hunting. An old saying is, if you are hunting game and vermin, people will tell you that 177 is good for feather and 2.2 is good for fur. I think it's down to you really what you want. 2.2s are good. You know, rabbit shooting, 30 metres, 30 yards, that's fair enough. You'll get by with that. Anyway, I'm not advocating killing things, by the way. Great for target shooting. So if you're thinking of getting into shooting and you're not sure, you want to jump through all the hoops of getting firearms and that, find yourself a club maybe, or if you've got a nice bit of back garden or a bit of land, buy yourself an air rifle or pistol. Choose the right one, talk to the guys in the gun shop, they'll help you out. Have somewhere safe to shoot, make sure no one's going to get in the way, and have some fun in your back garden or at your shooting club. Remember, although there's no licensing, there's no need to get a license or anything for an air rifle, don't think they're toys, because they're not. They're absolutely deadly. And you can do a lot of damage, you can maim people, you can kill people or pets with them, so very, very careful. Always keep the ammunition out of reach of children, keep the firearm, the air rifles, away from children. Lock them away in a cupboard or put them up somewhere they can't get them. And certainly, whatever you do, lock the ammunition away. Keep it away if you've got children coming round, you've got children in your house. Don't let inquisitive fingers get hold of them. Anyway, it's a very brief insight to air rifles and air pistols. The next video, bound to be a proper tabbing one. I'll be out on the ground again soon. So until then, guys, don't forget, get yourselves out there and let's tab.